Hello everyone, and welcome to the Psyker build that you have been waiting for 24 hours or more for me to show you. And I'm so happy that you took interest in it and that you liked the run. Because I think that this build is so much better than the usual Flamer Psyker build that you see everywhere. Because it gives you so much more survivability to you and your team as well. And the damage isn't a lot lower than the Flamer build either. Right. And to top it all off, today I'll be giving you two builds, not just one. One build for you to use below Havoc 35 and one build for you to use after Havoc 35 and above. So the build you saw on the video is something you can use below Havoc 35, but also, as you could see, it was very effective in Havoc 35 and above as well. The video you saw, it was Havoc 40. So let me start with this build, and then after I explain this build, I'll give you the bonus one, which is actually stronger and gives you much more DPS while also giving you the same amount of survivability as this one. So here are the weapons and the curios you need. Obviously, not everyone can have plus 17 toughness on 3 curios. Plus 16 will do, plus 15 is okay as well, but you should try and find the highest possible number. On talents, you got these talents. And now, let me explain, because having a good build is very important, but being able to understand the build in order to play it well is what will make the difference between you actually performing well and you not performing well. So, first of all, this little talent here, it synergizes so extremely well with your build. Minus 10 Pero generation with this Void Blast Force staff synergizes so extremely well, and it gives you so much Pero reduction that it allows you basically to non-stop spam your secondary charge attack without almost ever having to do the reload animation, this one, to reduce your Pero, which is extremely important in Havoc 40, especially because there's non-stop enemies coming right at you, and you need to be able to deal damage and stagger them. And stagger is what this build is extremely powerful at doing. Because look at this guy. He's so scary, isn't he? But you make him drop on his feet. And you can do it with the sword as well. Right, but he is currently stagger immune. So once he drops to the floor once, he will be stagger immune for some time. And then you can do it all over again to him after the stagger immunity wears off. But yeah, this build excels at staggering, and staggering is what will allow your team to be safe. Stagger and suppression in terms of ranged units is something that is very overlooked, I believe, in Havoc or in the game in general by most players. Stagger, meaning the ability to drop this guy on the floor like this, basically stunning him, is something that becomes extremely important the higher in difficulty you go. It's one of those mechanics that the players who install those scoreboard tracking mods that show you how much damage you deal very often overlook and just practically don't understand. They think that dealing damage is what is most important, but actually being able to deal damage and improve your team's survivability is tens of times more important than just dealing damage. So being able to knock this guy on the floor, knock this guy on the floor, this guy as well, basically any mob in the whole game, you can knock them down on the floor while also dealing an insane amount of damage to them, is tens and hundreds of times better than using some kind of lame build where this guy doesn't even take damage from it. The only damage he took was from the brain burst that comes out, but the actual flame staff doesn't do much to him at all. So with this build, not only do you add stagger to everything, but you also add brittleness to anything you hit based on the charge time of your secondary attack. And to top it all off, you can spam it. So the more you hold down, so you need to be always holding down your right mouse button, basically never letting it go. And this will proc your blessing called Warp Flurry, allowing you to charge your attacks faster with each time you cast it. So you just need to never let go of your right mouse button, and your Warp Flurry will stack up, allowing you to spam your staggering high damage secondary attack. And this will allow you to essentially not only provide damage, but provide stagger and provide brittleness to your whole team. Meaning you are actually right now witnessing the absolute best Psyker support build in the whole game, because you're providing everything your team needs to kill any melee character. Stagger, damage, and brittleness, while at the same time having bubble, which will allow you to deal with any kind of ranged unit, and casting your bubble activates your kinetic resonance, which allows you to cast your brain rupture very much faster for 50% less peril. So why is this very important? Well, the reason why this is very important is because your bubble can be destroyed by these guys and this guy shooting at it, or the little ones as well. Like these guys here, they can shoot at your bubble and destroy it. So the reason why you have kinetic resonance is so that whenever you cast your bubble and protect your team, you can also go on the offensive and start killing these guys one by one before they can actually kill your bubble. And instead of, like, you know, relying on your team to do it, because, you know, when you play with randoms, it's playing with randoms doesn't make the game more easy. The playing with randoms is like another difficulty modifier that you add to the game, because a lot of the people don't know how to play the game. So you need to be able to do pretty much everything on your own, and this is why you have kinetic resonance, so you don't have to rely on your team to kill the ranged units either. So you're basically killing and making melee targets easier to kill, and protecting and killing every ranged unit in the game that you need to kill. So this is an insane build. Absolutely insane build. You have mind in motion because, again, randoms are very bad at this game, and as you probably know as a Psyker, they will leave you behind. You are literally carrying their asses across the whole map, staggering and dealing damage, massive amount of damage to anything that comes, while applying brittleness, at the same time killing every ranged unit in the map. And what will the random guy do? He will forget you exist. But because you have Mind in Motion, you don't have to slow down when reducing your peril. Instead, you are able to run at full speed while reducing your peril. And so you will never be left behind by your team. As you know, that happens a lot in Havoc. And this also gives you a lot of survivability in when you have a good team as well, because when you are focused on staggering things in Havoc 40, there are so many mobs that you will eventually have to start reducing your peril with the reload animation. And that's when this talent will become very useful, because it will not leave you vulnerable. The whole idea behind Fat Shark forcing you to go into this reload animation is that without the talent, you become very slow and mobs can reach you and kill you very easily. But with this talent, you're able to run full speed and negate any damage from mobs. The reason why you have this talent here is mostly because it's the shortest path towards the next node, but actually at the same time it is quite synergistic with your whole build, because when you knock this guy down, you can come and finish him off with your sword, which will reduce the amount of peril you have by 10%, and also reduce the amount of peril that you generate in the future by 20%. And this can be used on these dumb mobs as well. So this means that whenever you are forced to kill these guys, you are also actually benefiting yourself, because you are actively reducing your peril by killing them with your sword, but also at the same time, you are giving yourself more room to work with, because you're reducing the future peril generation by 20%. And while 20% doesn't sound very amazing right now, it actually is an insane amount when you play it in the game. Like in terms of peril reduction, it's actually an insane amount. It sounds not a lot, but in practice, it's an insane amount, 20%. I don't exactly know how the mathematics work behind that, but for some reason, 20% is a lot. Also, the 10% of quelling is significant as well. So this will allow you to reduce your quell, and also allow you to cast a lot more staff spells at the same time. So you got some basic defenses here, reducing your ability cooldown reductions and your teams as well. You know this part. Yeah, everything is basically self-explanatory from here on. Now, let me show you the bonus build. But before I show you the bonus build, here is something. So, if your team ever does leave you behind and you need to follow them, and there is a lot of mobs around you, what you can do is just start casting the secondary attack under your feet, and this will allow you to move safely between mobs, because they can't attack you because they're being staggered. So you can move safely around the mobs. You can also press your dodge key to move faster and stuff like that. But yeah, basically everything will get staggered when you're hitting with your secondary attack your feet, basically. And this will allow you to move forward safely and catch up with your team. Right. So the most important part about this whole build is that you stagger everything to the ground, so it doesn't kill your team and doesn't kill you as well. So moving on to the bonus build that I mentioned, which is gonna give you a lot more DPS, and it will also give you good boss damage. Without further ado, here it is. It is basically the same thing, but you get one more dodge and longer dodge duration, and your brain burst will cost less, cast faster, and deal more damage. So why this is important and why you should use this bonus build that I'm showing you only in Havoc 35 and above. The reason is because of this Telekine shield here. So this Telekine shield is actually much, I can't stress how much more, but it's much more powerful than the one you have here, which is the dome. This is very weak, trust me. This is actually the noob version of the Telekine shield. This is for noobs, and that's why I strongly recommend you use this one for Havocs below 35. Mainly because players are noobs and they don't play the game tactically. They play the game like animals and just rush forward. So this will allow you to actually protect them. Because if you try and protect them with this shield and it's below Havoc 35, they'll be playing like animals and they will just rush forward and they will not be protected by your shield. But with the Telekine dome, you can cover a huge amount of area and it's easier for them to back into it and protect it. But this shield is tens of times better because it actually, at least from my testing, tanks a lot more damage from ranged units. And it also has 2 charges. This is very important because you are now not using Warp Siphon. So with the usual build, you have Warp Siphon to reduce the cooldown, which is huge because you're using the Telekine dome. You reduce the cooldown. That's why you're going Warp Siphon instead of Empowered Psionics. And that's why you're losing on boss damage and general damage from your Brain Burst, but mainly boss damage. Because you need the Warp Siphon for the cooldown reduction. Otherwise, you have gaps of time in which you won't have Telekine Dome, but there's going to be ranged enemies and they'll be trying to kill you. But with this build, first of all, your cooldown is 20 seconds lower because you don't have this one. And second of all, you have 2 charges. So this means that you're basically gonna have the shield ability much more often, and the shield ability itself, at least in my testing, holds a lot more damage compared to this one. And to top it all off, you have 20% chance to electrocute enemies that pass through your Telekine shield. So any enemy in the game is 20% chance electrocuted, while specialists having 100% chance to be electrocuted. So this is insane. Let me explain. So if you cast it, you can actually, as you can see, stun and stop all of these guys from ever coming at your team. So imagine, and this is very, you can find this very often. Let's imagine that you're on a map and you are going through a doorway that you can block using this shield, and there are no other paths towards you other than this doorway from behind. So if you put this shield in this doorway, this means that all of these trappers that usually try and come from behind a lot of the time, the flamers as well, they come from behind, and sometimes these guys as well, and these guys as well, and this guy, they will all be stunned and unable to cross this shield and try and kill your team, thanks to your shield, which is also damaging them, as you can see. So this shield is tens of times much better, but it requires you as a player, as a Psyker, to position much more tactically, because you're now casting a wall and not a dome. So you need to be thinking about having physical cover, like walls around you, and using this as a wall, you know, instead of just rushing into the center of a room and casting your dome ability, which is much easier, to be fair, but like I said, much less effective than this wall, which electrocutes everything but also has 2 charges. So you need to have you yourself as a player much better positioning, and your team of random players need to also have good understanding of positioning and choose their fights in better locations for you to be able to actually be effective when using this ability. Now, because it has 2 charges, there is a trick you can do whenever you find yourself in a very bad spot and there is no physical cover like walls, which you can use to like protect your side while casting your wall and protecting your front with the shield. When there is no such thing, because you have 2 charges, you can actually cast it like this and have 2 of your possible like locations from where you're being shot at protected. But for the most part of the game, I strongly recommend you do not do this, but instead just position better and use 1 charge. But if you ever need to, you can do that. And you can do it like... you can do it better. Like this, wait. So you have only one weak spot. So you can cast this, like this, and then this like this. And you can reduce this gap even further if you're better. And then you have only this zone, which I hope is protected by a wall. Like if you don't have even 1 wall protecting you from enemies, that's really bad. But this is a trick you can use to effectively do the same thing as when you have the dome ability, while also having this. But like I said, I recommend just not using the 2 charges at once and having better positioning. Just use 1 charge by having better positioning. Now, why this is better? The reason why this is much better as well compared to this is because this will actually give you the ability to deal significant amount of damage to bosses and units like this guy as well, but generally what you want to use it on is bosses. So this ability increases the damage of your brain burst by 50%, reduces the peril cost and cast time as well. And you also have this activating whenever you cast your Telekine shield, which has 2 charges, meaning this kinetic resonance ability will be active much more time of the game. Yeah, sorry for the English. So you have increased damage and an insanely reduced peril cost and an insanely reduced cast time. And actually, the brain burst ability of the Psyker is a very good tool for killing bosses. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not as strong as crack grenades or the stealth zealot just one-shotting an enemy. Yeah, it's not that strong against bosses. But considering the fact that you can cast it very fast and it deals very good damage to unyielding enemies, like you see that's 4k, above 4k damage. It actually deals significant boss damage. It's one of the best tools in the Psyker kit for dealing with bosses, Brain Burst. So what you want to do is just whenever you see a boss, you instantly spawn a wall so that you activate your kinetic flare ability, which is this, making you cast faster for less peril, and you start brain bursting the boss until he's dead. Of course, you shouldn't tunnel vision and actually protect your team whenever you need to from melee units and from ranged units with your brain burst as well. But whenever you can, you should brain burst the boss himself and deal additional damage to him as well. It will help your team tremendously. So this is the better build, generally, but it's more high skill. So in lower Havocs, for playing with absolute noobs, you should definitely use the Telekine though. But for higher Havocs, when players are better, you should use this build with the wall, electrocute these guys with the wall, cast your brain burst on these guys, I mean on bosses and range units, yeah, but generally on bosses. And also benefit from the fact that you have more dodges and a longer dodge duration because you're saving 1 point. Like, to get all these things, you're wasting 1 point. But with this build, you're saving 1 point and you're allowing yourself to get more survivability for yourself as well. So, I hope you enjoyed these two builds, and these two builds are all you need. You don't need anything else. These two builds are all you need to climb from Havoc 1 to all the way to Havoc 40. Enjoy your games.